That was a great word, a great worship. Oh my God. And it's just amazing how he said that Yahweh has been giving me a word, and the word is vindication. He spoke that to me. I was like, vindication. Let me go look this up. I was like, he is fixing to vindicate us. And one person in particular, he said, I'm going to vindicate her. I am fixing to vindicate her. And I was like, oh my God. And I hadn't even looked at in my notes or anything, hadn't even got started. And everything just flowed in about vindication. So today I want to speak to you. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And I trust that you had a wonderful Passover, and unleavened bread would be something that you will enjoy. And it would just bring life to you, healing to your body, because you're putting leaven down, and just a week of enjoyment, because Passover was really a great time for us. And I seen pictures of you guys, and I know it was good for you too. So my teaching today is on Lot and Abram, their separation. And I've been studying in my Torah writing. This is where I've gotten to, and it was all about Sarah and Abraham and Lot. And their journey was something not to frown on, but it's really something to learn about and to study, because our journey will probably look similar to theirs. And so we really need to know. Abraham and Lot's wilderness started them on a journey together, one by faith in Yahweh and the other by curiosity. My sister-in-law, who used to say, I'm only going to go for the ride. So that meant she was not going to give you any money on gas. She was just going for the ride. So I think this is what lots fall into this category. I'm just going for the ride. So I think that was his motive for going. So what was Lot's motive for going? We begin here in Genesis 12:5. And Abram took Sarah his wife and Lot his brother's son and all their substance that they had gathered and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. And Genesis 13:2 says, and Abram was very rich in cattle and in silver and in gold. So this is the first time you see the word silver, and it's connected to Abraham. And Genesis 13:5-6 says, and Lot also, which went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents, and the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together. So the word for they could not dwell is yashab, to dwell, remain. But in the Torah, it's written as la shavet, the three-letter root of Shabbat. The Shabbat is a gift from Yahweh to his people. And Deuteronomy 28:6 says, John was talking about it, you will be blessed when you go in and blessed when you go out. So Shabbat is a blessing. Every 7 days we go in and out of the Shabbat, and we receive a gift. John was talking about we receive a gift, and that gift is the presence of Yahweh. So it's like a rotation. Every time you go in and every time you go out, you get to visit with Yahweh. You get to have a meeting with him every time you go in. And sooner or later, you're going to build up this wall of protection around you, that everything that comes against you is just going to start falling out, because you build up this wall of protection. You're going in, you're going out, you're going in. And the word for together is yahad. It means together, all together, are alike. Amos 3:3 says, can two walk together, Yachad, except they be in agreement? So Abraham and Lot, they started on this journey, and they was all, and Sarah, they was all in agreement. And everybody that they picked up along the way, they was in agreement with them. And it's from Yahad, meaning to be united, to be joined. Yahad has the value of 22, the Hebrew alphabet. It is composed of 22 letters. 22 is the letter Tav, meaning covenant. So they walked in covenant. And the language puts you in covenant because God's language is his covenant. So when you walk and talk and move and react in his language, then you are in covenant with him. You are moving in a covenant relationship with Yahweh. And the word for substance is rakush, and it means property, goods. This word describes property obtained by labor, not by purchasing them with money. Things one has accumulated, such as cattle and flocks. So it's from rakash, to accumulate, to acquire. It describes the process of acquiring property, especially through Yahweh's blessing. So Yahweh blessed them both. This is the beginning of Abram's and Lot's separation, knowing how to manage all their properties and goods. Think about this: when you have so much stuff, the space around you become very small. What's becoming the most popular thing now? Storage units. They're popping up everywhere. People have a lot of stuff. If they can't put it in their house, they go rent a place to put it. And then they just build up and build up. Never see that stuff ever again. We got stuff we hadn't seen in 10 years. So I'm talking to me. So I'm guilty. I believe the teaching of the gathering of the manna was a small beginning on how to manage property and good. Get only what you can handle. So that's for us to coming up whenever we get out of Babylon. Because I read, and I could not find it, was when they asked Moses, why did they build the golden calf? He said, because they had too much stuff. That was the reason he gave. They had too much stuff, and they built the golden calf. Too much stuff affects the land, their Shabbat, and their covenant together. Genesis 13:3, and there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's cattle and the herdsmen of Lot's cattle. And the Canaanites and the Perizzites dwell there. Dwell there in the land. Strife. Well, no, the Bible talks about them. The Perizzites are the ones who wanted to dwell right around the people. They didn't want to get their own piece of land and go over there and dwell. They wanted to get right close to the righteous. That's a parasite. And the word strife is rib. It means controversy. Dispute, quarrel, case at law. It appears in reference to an argument over land uses, over land rights. Who was the land promised to? Wasn't it promised to Abraham? So that's a problem right there, already getting started. the example is David plead with Yahweh to give him vindication in his case. In 1 Samuel 24:15, the Lord therefore be judge and judge between me and thee, and see and plead my cause and deliver me out of thine hand. The word for be judged is dayan, and it means a judge, a defender, vindicate. David used this word to refer to God as his judge. God is the only judge. He judges things on his timing. But he will judge. He will judge. And judge and deliver me are both the same words in the Hebrew. It is shafat, and it means to judge, govern, vindicate, or punish. Now, this is getting really serious when he says, come down, and I want you to come down, and I want you to punish. So this is a serious case. And see, come and look for yourself. David is asking Yahweh to come and give attention to and present yourself. Now that's something when you ask God to come down and present himself and look at a situation. The situation has gotten bad. And plead my cause. Both are the same word in the Hebrew, riv, and it means litigate. That's David's word, plead and litigate. I'll never forget that. Deliver me out of thine hand. The word for hand is yad. In 1 Samuel 24:16 and 17, it says, and it came to pass when David had made an end of speaking these words unto Saul, that Saul said, is this thy voice, my son, David? And Saul lifted up his voice and wept. And he said to David, thou art more righteous than I, for I have rewarded. Thou art more righteous than I, for thou hast rewarded me good, whereas I have rewarded thee evil. Me and Zena was talking about that the other day. Reward. I have put out good and good and good, and you have rewarded me. Saul recognized that. He had been doing what was wrong. You know the story, how Saul did everything he could to kill David. I went back and I read the story, and you need to check that story out. He did a lot to try to kill. He even tried to use his own daughters to get David killed. Now that's serious when you take your own girls. I can understand boys, but when you take girls, that's bad. But Yahweh put Saul in David's hands, and David had the power to destroy him. But he said, I will not touch God's anointed. That shows you what kind of character David had. 1 Samuel 24:17, and he said to David, thou art more righteous than I. The word for righteous is zadik, just, lawful, righteous in government, right in one's cause, righteous in conduct and character, righteous as justified and vindicated by God. God will vindicate. Psalms 23 says, he leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. It is for his name's sake. When you say, Father, Abba, you need to come and you need to see what's going on for your name's sake. For thou hast rewarded me good. The word good is told. Good is the character of Yahweh's name. Yeshua said there's only one who is good. So if David was talking about glory. Glory is his character. Good is his character. Mercy and kindness, that speaks of his character. And he said, you have rewarded me good. That's telling you, you have walked in Yahweh's character. The word for reward here is gamal, and it is to recompense another, to bring to completion, to do again, to do good. How did David do Saul good? He played the harp for him to cause the evil spirit that Yahweh had put on him to leave. So David did him good. Gamel is the number 3. In Hebrew means completeness and to be lifted up. Yeshua said, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto me. I will bring all things to completion. Come to me, follow me, and I will bring all your problems and your situations to completion. They will be at an end. The idea of bringing it to an end is demonstrated in the verses that describe a child who is weaned. The first time Gamal is used is in Genesis 21:8. And the child grew and was weaned, Gamal. And Abraham made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned, Gamal. Abraham threw a big feast. Was weaned is he, Gamal, and it has the value of 78, the same as salt, milak. Gamel is about bringing something to an end. The strife between Abraham and Lot, David and Saul, and the things we go through that looks like there's no end in your eyes, Yahweh sees, and whatever it is coming to an end. Let the feast begin. Start planning your feast. He actually told me to go buy a dress. He actually said, you need a dress. So I said, I got a dress in the closet. No, you need to go buy a dress. Like, what? So you need to go buy you a dress and new pants and get ready for the feast. Let's look at some reasons why the strife between Abraham and his herdsmen and Lot's herdsmen. The commentaries say that Lot, dishonest sheep shepherds, grazed their flocks on other people's pastures. When Abram's shepherds rebuked them for this, they responded that God had promised the land to Abraham. Since he was childless, Lot was his heir, and the land was his. Lot was his heir. We got another problem. The Bible is full of people wanting to be the heir of Abraham, except the true heirs. The true heirs want nothing to do with the birthright. For example, the scattered house of Israel, Jacob and Esau. Esau sells his birthright to Jacob. Jacob obtains the blessing by deceit. Laban deceived Jacob, and he marries Leah, who was promised to Esau. Pastor David spoke on this subject in one of his teachings. Genesis 29:26. And Laban said, it must not be so done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. And 29:9 says, and while he yet spake unto them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. You have to ask yourself, where was Leah? She's the firstborn. Is it not her responsibility to take care of her father's flock? Once again, the firstborn is not taking responsibility. Leah is the firstborn. Esau is the firstborn. Esau only wanted the blessing, not the birthright or not the bride. Leah, the bride. Leah was the bride. Jacob, on the other hand, wants the birthright. His mother made him get the blessing, and he didn't want the bride, Leah. So now we have what I call the three B's: the birthright, the blessing, and the bride. All three together represent the Hebrew number 3. Gamel, meaning completeness, and Gamal, meaning to bring to an end or be rewarded, good or evil. The word bride is kalal, and it's a bride. It means a daughter-in-law, young woman, a spouse. And it's from kalal, meaning to complete, be perfect, to put on a crown or to crown. The bride and the queen are the only one who wears a crown. Why did Jacob have to marry Leah? That's the question. I kept wondering why. He didn't like her. He didn't want her. But anyway, for some reason, it was important for him to have her. This was the last piece of the inheritance to take from Esau: the birthright, the blessing, and now the bride. And we talked about Leah, but Leah actually, she deserved to be the bride because she went through a lot of stuff. She went through a lot of stuff. And to think about it, she was the first one to go and talk to Esau. The first one. She did not hesitate. Jacob said, "You go first." She was out there. And you know what she did? Timmy, all this could be yours. That's what she said. She just told Esau straight up, all this could be yours. Now this story is about 2 brothers as well. The son of King David, Adoniah, and Solomon both wanted to be king after the death of their father. King David has Solomon anointed as king and set him on the throne of his kingdom. First Kings 1:51 says, "And it was told Solomon, saying, Behold, Adoniah fears King Solomon, for lo, he has caught hold on the horns of the altar, saying, Let King Solomon swear unto me today that he will not slay his servant with the sword." Years ago, I wanted to do this great teaching, man. I just so fired up. I'm going to grab the hold of those horns of the altar, and I'm not going to let it go, and I'm going to preach, and I'm just going to hold, and that's going to be my service. I'm just going to preach about holding on to the horns of the altar. Then I got to reading the story. And this story don't go well. So I said, maybe later on. No, I don't think I'm quite ready for that yet. First King 1 and 52. And Solomon said, If he will show himself a worthy man, there shall not a hair fall to the earth. But if wickedness shall be found in him, he shall die. The trap is set. He's already walked into the trap. The word worthy will get you every time. Oh, yeah, I'm a worthy man. I'm a worthy man. Solomon already had trapped him before he ever got started. The word worthy is hayil, and it means strengthened, righteous in behavior. They got him right there. Are you righteous in your behavior? And the word man is not really man, it's son, and it's bane, and it comes from bana, to build, to rebuild, to establish, to cause, to continue, and it's connected to tabnit, meaning a pattern or plan or form. Solomon is saying, if you are a righteous son, then you will establish the house of your father. And this is the plan. You will do this, but you got to be a righteous man. Yeah. You got to have righteous behavior. So he was already trapped before he got started. First, now you know Solomon was wise. I didn't get that verse, but yeah, that was an amazing verse. 1 Kings 2:13, and Adoniah, the son of Haggith, came to Bathsheba, the mother of Solomon, and she said, "Cometh thou peacefully in Shalom?" And he said, "Peacefully in Shalom." Sure, peaceful. Everything's good. I am so peaceful. I come to you in peace, in goodness, and mercy. 1 Kings 2:17 said, and he said, "Speak, I pray thee, unto Solomon the king, for he will not say nay, that he give me Abishai, the Shulamite, to wife." It's the wife who wears the crown. Remember that. The bride, she wears the crown. 1 Kings 2:18, and Bathsheba said, I will speak for thee unto the king. And 2:21 says, and she said, let Abishai the Shulamite be given unto Adoniah, thy brother, to wife. 2 Kings 2:22 says, and Solomon answered and said unto his mother, and why do thou ask Abishai the Shulamite for Adoniah? Why are you asking? Who's been talking to you? Why would you come and ask me that? Then he said, ask for him the kingdom. Mom, why did you just come and say, can he have the kingdom? For he is my elder brother. First one in line. He's the oldest. Even for him and for Abiathar, the priest, and for Joab, the son of Zeruiah. So you might as well ask for the priest. Just ask everybody to be the king, you know. Don't just ask for him. Come on in and ask everybody to take this position. So what was mom's motive in this? Just think about that. She had to have a motive. Adoniah was Solomon's elder brother, making him first in line for the throne. Since Abishai was considered part of David's harem, if she marries to Adoniah, then that would make him have claim to the throne. Solomon rightly saw Adoniah's desire to marry Abishai as part of his brother's ongoing attempt to take over the kingdom. So before he ever got started, Solomon set him up. If you are righteous, okay, I won't do nothing to you. But Solomon saw through that. And right away he said, go get him. And that's what got me. He said, go get him. And I couldn't understand why they went from this to go get him and kill him. Then when I started studying, it was like, whoever has the queen has the kingdom. The 3 B's, the birthright, the blessing, and the bride, the kingdom. Leah was considered as Esau's bride. Jacob had to marry her to be the king. So he understood that, because I could not figure out why he had to marry her. Now, as we continue on, the commentary says, Lot's shepherds allowed their flocks to graze on other people's pastures. Remember, the Canaanite and the Perizzites dwelled there in the land as well. I'm thinking corrupted DNA. Abraham's shepherds was protecting his flock from corrupted DNA. Lot, wanting to be Abraham's heir, taking the land and water, corrupting the animal's DNA, Lot had to go. That's a good reason for it to have to be separated there. He had to go. Genesis 13:9. Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if thou wilt depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left. And 13:10 says, And Lot lifted up his eyes, and behold, all the plains of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou cometh into Zoar. Then Lot chose all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves one from the other. Lot journeyed from the east. The King James said he journeyed east, but he journeyed from the east. The word separate is parad. It means to divide, to separate, or to flee. It's from strong. It's from rude. Is used of a people who, having as it were broken God's yoke, or go unbridled, meaning to wander restlessly, roam, or to show restlessness. Abram gave Lot a choice to go to the right or left to stay in the land of Canaan, but Lot chose to go from the east. Since the word Kiddim means east, it can also be understood as the Ancient One. Lot separated himself from Yahweh, the Ancient One of the world, saying, I want neither Abram nor his Sabbath nor his God. I am my own Lord. He became his own king. Lot lifted up his eyes and he saw water, meaning an easy way for caring for the things that he had acquired while with Abraham. The Jordan River is similar to the Nile River, which was not dependent on rain. Lot chose the Egyptian way of life, where he would not have to look to Yahweh for his income. Remember, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob all dug wells. It's the wells that connect you to the land. So whenever people would dig a well, that connected them to the land. Jacob, even in Yeshua's day, he was seen at the well. He met the Samaritan at the well. It's Jacob's well. So that is what connects you to the land. And cities were built by Cain. Cain was a wanderer, not connected to the land. As thou comest into Zorah, Zor it means insignificance. It was one of the 5 cities slated for destruction by Yahweh, spared at Lot's plea as his place of refuge. The name Zorah means little or small. It's from Zorah, and it means to be bought low. It refers to a person without great worth, or influence. Zorah has the same value as 366 in the Strongs. It is Hishbon, and it's a plan, a reason, knowledge, and understanding of a scheme. It hints at evil intentions. Lot knew the spiritual environment of Zoar. Going there not only diminished him, but it caused him to be despised. So when Lot goes into Zoar, he is diminished. He has little worth, no influence, and he knew the spiritual atmosphere there when he goes in. And Abraham told him, son, go to the right and go to the left and dig you a well and take care of your property. Learn how to manage it. But he chose a different way. Abraham pleads for Sodom and Gomorrah in Genesis 18:24. Peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? In Genesis 18:28 says, Peradventure there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the cities for the lack of 5? And he said, if I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy it. Abraham continues on, 50, 30, 20, and 10. So something is out of order there. Why 5? Why 45? The number 5 is symbolic of God's grace and goodness and favor toward mankind. The number 45 represents the name of Lot. He says, save Lot. Abraham asked Yahweh to spare Lot's life, showing him good once again. The 2 angels and Lot. I just only got a little bit more, guys. Genesis 19:15. And when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters, which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquities of the city. 19:22 says, hasten thee, escape thither, for I cannot do anything till thou be come thither. Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. And 23 says, the sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. But 19:26 says, but his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. The word for look back is navat, and it means to look back, pay attention to, consider, to look on something for help. So when she looked back, she was asking her comforter back here for help. Sodom and Gomorrah, I depend on you. Help me. Save me. Dependency. The commentaries say for as the wife was commanded to follow her husband and not to look back, she ought to have looked straight on and to have followed her husband's back with her eyes. Lot's bride became a pillar of salt, a salt covenant between Abram and Yahweh that cannot ever, that nothing can ever come out of Lot. Remember, the strife was between Abram and Sarah not being able to have sons. So that was one of the that was the first, not the first, but that was one of them, that Sarah and Abraham could never have a son, so Lot would be the heir. We have the word salt, malak. Abraham pleads for only 5 to come out of Sodom and Gomorrah. The 2 angels, Lot and his 2 daughters only. Abraham was making sure that no seed could ever come from Lot and claim to be his heir. Lot's bride became a pillar of salt, which had the same value as he Gamel 78, the weaning of Isaac. Isaac is the Gamel, the lifted up one. Also, Lot was diminished when he entered in Zoar and when he came out of Zoar. I never heard of that. You can be cursed going in and cursed going out. I always thought you could be blessed going in and blessed going out. But Lot was cursed going in and he was cursed going out. And he also lost everything. He didn't learn how to manage nothing. But first, he had all that stuff and didn't know how to manage it. So he ended up losing everything by wanting to be his own God. God give it and God take it away. Let's look at Lot's name. Lot's name means a covering, a veil. The covering which spread over all nations, that which covers their faces and makes them sad. Rather, the veil which keepeth their hearts from God, indicating the inability for people to perceive God and his work clearly. So Lot is a covering that makes you sad, that keeps your heart from God, because God knows your heart. And he's there to keep your heart from God. And it's from lut, and it means to wrap closely or tightly. A covering as a sign of mourning. Isaiah uses the noun and the verb form together, meaning the covering that covers or shrouds, that enfolds. Shrouds, meaning a burial garment. So Lot goes, he's a covering. And this covering is not just any covering. This is a burial covering. So to be attached to Lot, it means that covering is going to kill you, because it's there to cover you and kill you. Isaiah 25:7 says, and he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all the people, and the veil that is spread over all the nations. Is Panei Halot, Al Kol Ha'amim. So you got Lot twice. The face, he will destroy the face of Lot. That's what it's saying. We're going to talk about who this he is. He will destroy the face of Lot. The face of Lot is the covering. Lot is cast over all the people. The covering is a burial garment. The word for covering is lot, and the word for cast is lot. So it's used twice. He's trying to tell you something. When he used the word twice, he's telling you something. And the veil is masika. And the first time this word is used, it is in Exodus 32:4. And he received them out, and he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graven tool. And after he had made a golden veil or calf, and they said, These be thy God, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. The word Mothan is masika. This word is associated with sacrifices that seal a covenant relationship. I think Brother John talked about that. Shepherd John talked. I believe it was Shepherd John talked on that. Meaning image, molten metal, a covering, a veil. It's from nasak, meaning to spread over something like a net or a veil. It is used as a covering that surrounds, hinders, or enshrouds the sight of the nations in a spiritual or religious sense. Nasak is also the word for spread. Yahweh repeats himself, molten calf, molten calf. So when you see the covering, the veil that is spread, the molten calf, the molten calf. So he repeats it. Isaiah 25:7 is inscribed to make something difficult to know or understand, to cover something so that it can not be seen clearly. And it's from nasak. It means to pour out, offer, cast, to cast metal, image, to anoint a king, to be anointed. Why would they need to anoint a king? Could the golden calf or molten calf be their king? Matthew 27:50. Yeshua, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost, and behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks did rent. The word here for veil is kata pat ashma, and it is a veil spread over a curtain, the name given to the two curtains in the temple at Jerusalem, one of them at the entrance of the temple, separating the holy place from the outer court, the other veil separating the Holy of Holies from the holy place. The gospel refers to these as one, kata pat ashma, which was rented at the time of Yeshua's crucifixion, giving the believers direct access to Yahweh through the sacrifice of his son Yeshua. Yeshua is the one who destroyed the covering of Lot, the garment of death. Lot being a curse to all nations. We just celebrated Passover, where we recognize that the covering of Lot is broken off our life. But will we, like Abraham, choose to remain separate from it in order to see his promise in our lives? We have to stay separated from Lot. That means if they build a third temple, will Lot be there? Will Lot be the motive for building it? Is Lot their king? Shabbat shalom.